This situation analysis has a lot of commonalities with the one we presented at the previous General Assembly in September, and it has also some updates. So for those who were not in September, you have who are not attending in September, you would have a general perspective. Next slide. So I've organized this in terms of achievements and challenges. I think the achievements are basically the same we presented in September, but some have evolved in a positive way, I would say. In particular, we had 45 members in September, and we have now 50. So the Earth Humanity Coalition is real, we can say. That's not the list of all the achievements. Something I wanted to share with you strongly is consolidation of executive team. I mean, this can be ambiguous. The expression of executive team, I'm meaning the steering committee itself, but also its capacity to bring in other people to, for instance, to work in the working groups in that we created in September. And really, I feel there is a high level of commitment and a very good level of collaboration between the members. We did since the beginning of the Earth Humanity Coalition. Just a reminder, that was in April, so not so long ago. You know, we took some steps in communications, which are already there. A fantastic logo, first version of the website, a brand guide, a video flyer, presence in a number of international events, and I will mention that more in detail, and a good, what I would say is a good institutional relationship with UNESCO. We are very, very different from UNESCO, as you can imagine, but we have a good relationship with them. As you know, the mandate of the UN makes UNESCO the leader in implementation, and this means work of coordination. But that also means that our role is different from theirs. Our role is to enable the most ambitious goals for the decade, but the relationship is pretty good, I would say. Also, I will mention what happened most recently, and the EHC is a member of the executive committee of the International Decade of Sciences for Sustainable Development, which the first meeting having taken place on the 4th of September, and Michel Spiro was representing us. Next. Regarding institutional relationships, I would emphasize the one which has been developing in a very positive way with the Belmont Forum. You know, this multilateral organization whose aim is to promote transdisciplinary research for sustainability, with which we have signed an MOU. You know, and let's thank Michel also for that. You know, we have signed an MOU to create an open repository for transdisciplinary research in collaboration with CERN, actually, with the particular electronic platform called Zenodo, which is hosted by the CERN. So I think this is an important achievement. And by the way, I met recently in Colombia Nicole Arbo, who is the executive director of Belmont Forum. She's particularly pleased at that, and I think they are now starting to realize how much value this can bring also to their work, which was, she told me that, you know, in Colombia, that was very interesting. And also we have, I think, a good relationship with the Future Earth and with a number of other actors in this space. We submitted a research proposal which is not yet evaluated, but we are still, so we received feedback on it, and feedback asking for clarifications on the research. So we are still in the race, which is good. This is something we have done with the University of York, which would provide a little bit of funding, but very, very little, but especially the collaboration of 2 full-time equivalent during 2 years, to help us work on the concept of transforming the role of sciences in society for sustainability. And then at a more operational level, we have the internal IT infrastructure, number of operations already going and going well, and we started multiple working threads, which were, identified at the very beginning of the coalition. Next slide. So regarding the international events, these are the ones we attended where we were present in spring, in April, in Addis Ababa and Beijing. So we can provide details if you wish, but this is already this was from the very beginning. There was like the launch of the Earth Humanity Coalition. Next slide. June, we mobilized a significant number of ourselves to be present at the SRI Research and Innovation Conference in Helsinki and Espoo in Finland, which was useful. We had our own event for our international launch, but that was particularly useful from the point of view of conversations with different actors. And then in July, I participated also and presented the EHC in the International Congress of the International Union of Psychological Science. Very interesting context and a massive event, as you see, 4,000 participants. I was not aware of how big is that space, that the space of psychological sciences. Next slide. Then in October in Cali, we had a 3 COPs, conference of parties meetings this year. One on biodiversity in Cali in October, where we were present. I gave the keynote opening the Science Policy Forum organized by the International Union of Biological Sciences, among other partners. And there were also several events of the Montpellier process, which is this intervention, to try to develop new ways of dialogues between science, policy, and society. And they were quite well attended. So, and in all of them, we presented also the decade and the Earth Humanity Coalition. And the same on the more recently, 2nd to 4th December, that was actually the official launch of the decade. The event was organized in Colombia as well, in the Caribbean, co-organized by UNESCO and the government of Colombia. Very interesting from the point of view of our connections with Latin America and how maybe not every government in Latin America, but some of them, in particular the one of Colombia, are taking this very seriously. Their minister for science, innovation, and technology was present and very active during the whole forum. And so I intervened in the launch, in the opening session for the launch of the decade, and in several workshops as well. And then it was much briefer, but I also participated in an event in another of the COPs. Having different COPs, by the way, is already pointing to something which is not so, because you have climate change, you have biodiversity, and you have desertification or the combat against desertification, as if these 3 topics issues were not connected to each other. But that's another story. This one happened in Riyadh, and I also had the occasion to participate and present the decade and the EHC, and invite the attendants to be part of our journey. Next. Regarding the working threads, very rapidly, we have the same as I presented in September, but the status has evolved, I would say. I would just mention some of the changes, in particular in the Working thread number 2, exploring frontier concepts. I think the work that Leslie has done with the rest of the people of the programming work group, which will be commented more in detail later. Um, this is the some of the concepts on which Leslie and partners are working, are fitting, which are frontier concepts in my view, are feeding the programming working groups, already, nurturing the programming of what we want to do in the future with some frontier concepts, which I think is very positive. On the worldwide grid of transdisciplinary hubs, it is a starting point. I already mentioned, this MOU with Belmont. On planetary reconciliation, science for peace, still first steps, but we had a very good meeting. We have Barbara Brun-Guleyova, who is helping us completely pro bono, and we had a very good meeting with Rolf Hoyer, former Director General of CERN, and the program that he established, Science for Peace Schools, continues to run, which is good news in itself. And we had very initial but talks about collaborating for a big conference in Geneva 2026 or 2027. So very initial, but again positive. Next. Regarding the interfaces between science policy and society, as I said, the most relevant in that is this active partnership with the Montpellier process, which is an ongoing process and which has developed a strong momentum. And also conversations with the IPU, is the Interparliamentary Union, an organization representing 60,000 parliamentarians from all over the world. It is based in Geneva. They have a working group, a specific working group on science and technology. And I have some expectations. I will meet them next Monday. I have some expectations that we could start doing concrete things together. And also we should start immediately to plan for occasions of this idea that science policy, innovation and society should work together in 2025. Everybody is very excited with the COP30 in Belém in Brazil. Let's see, but we have to think about that, about our presence in certain places. Maybe also SRI, Sustainability Research and Innovation 2025, which will take place in Chicago. Let's see. On education, not much has happened, but Barbara is also helping on that. The key processes, I think, with the working groups that we set up in September, with the work they did, we have made substantial progress. On 9 and 10, we are a little bit more behind, because we need to reflect a little bit more on how we want to evolve and how we want to work with relevant players with the capacity to influence the framing of the scientific agendas and the funding agendas. And as I said, UNESCO could be one of them, because now they are starting to, I think UNESCO always appreciated what we were trying to do. Now, I think they are starting to understand what we can bring, what is the value that we can bring to what they do. So what we can do that they cannot. So let's see how this relationship evolves. Next. Then the working groups, I don't give more details. Prajval has already spoken about the general strategy and the working group and the revision of the charter. We will have more details from others on the other two working groups. I would say I'm biased, but my appreciation is that this has worked well in the sense of engaging also people who are not members of the steering committee in the discussions and producing something substantial and relevant. And even if we had different working groups in parallel, it was possible to make them work with enough level of coordination, to produce something consistent. Next slide. Then on the challenges, because of course we have plenty of them, some of them have evolved since September. This is what I put in red. I think we have made progress in defining what is our unique value proposition, and particularly on putting the focus on the how, and it is how we do things rather than what, meaning that our role is not to replace or to compete with existing institutions, organizations, networks, but rather be the ones with the capacity of navigating the complexity of what already exists, of convening other organizations to work together, and other organizations across sectors, not only the academic world. This is why, I mean, the how it leads to how we work and how we operate more as an organic network. The mycelium metaphor is now being used here and there, and I think it's quite appropriate. And also with the idea of learning from our members, because some of our members are already networks working in this transdisciplinary space, working with different groups, research groups all over the world. So we can learn from what they have already experienced. Regarding the fundraising itself, in getting funding, we have not made progress, but I would say we have defined a roadmap or a pathway based on the idea of joint programming, more on that later, for 2025 and beyond, as a way to build up also our credibility and portfolio. So instead of being starting from scratch and knocking doors, with without a portfolio, saying we have these big intentions, and we made possible the declaration of the decade, but that's it. Going, when we will knock on the doors of funders, going with this background of, look, with these members, with those different members, we have developed a joint programming, and this is what we can show. Makes a lot of sense to me. Let's discuss. Geographic imbalance, a lot to do here, with some openings having been done to Latin America, Africa, Asia, but really a lot to do. And the possibility, and this is a proposal from my side, the possibility of considering having a co-presidency together with Michel, somebody from most of the world, and even in my complete proposal, not to decide in this General Assembly, but for a future moment, my complete proposal was to say, well, let's have a lady from most of the world and coming rather from civil society, NGOs, from a non-strictly academic background, to embody together with Michel this idea, the idea of the Earth Humanity Coalition, to be discussed. Next. Sectoral imbalance, we are mapping, who could be sectoral imbalance, meaning not only academia, we really want to engage with civil society, with policy, and also with the entrepreneurial sector. How do we do that? Again, this requires selecting, I would say, partners with the right spirit to do that. And with the right spirit, meaning also engaged in this idea of equitable well-being for all on a healthy planet, and building also on the Montpellier process, which is already doing that, which doesn't mean that they will do everything. There is a lot to do, but building also on the experience they are having. The Montpellier process, by the way, is a process, and it's a network of organizations, but one of them, the creator of the Montpellier process, which I think is not represented today because they had agenda issues, is a member of the Earth Humanity Coalition. Then a point which was not so strong, I think, in previous discussions was this idea of How do we program jointly with the members? The WAS, thanks to the effort of Nebojsa and Eshkovich, developed very early WAS EHC program. What if we propose this to happen with potentially all members, and having this concept of joint programming, and we also use that to nurture the work of the programming working group. Last but not least, create a critical mass for the different activities. I think we have a good experience with the volunteers for the working groups, but this still needs to be expanded, bringing in more people in different activities, being aware that everyone is very busy, but there are also plenty of people who are excited about what we are doing, and consolidate that path. Next. That's it, because this is just what I put, which comes from our flyer, about the 5 reasons why you should join us. Not you, because you are already part of the EHC. This is the flyer for others. So I'm not sure if there is something left. Could you go to the end, Luc? But I think I'm done.
Two left still.
Yeah, and this is also part of the flyer. I'm
Okay.
done.
Thank you